So when I started scanning my own film, probably like most people, when you're just starting out, I took the route of getting an actual scanner. I got an Epson V600, and I started scanning with that, and it worked, pretty well. It did what it was supposed to do, but it was just, taking so long to scan like an image, at a high resolution. It was taking, like 1 to 3 minutes per image, which just felt like it was, taking too long getting through a whole roll, for 36, 35 millimeter frames. That just was kind of, a downside to making me not want to develop and scan my own film. But, a lot of people, I saw a lot of people, kind of switching over to doing the DSLR mirrorless. I was like, oh, I'm, never going to get into that. That's, why would I do that? That's not, you don't scan film that way. But, over the past 8 months, I actually did switch over to scanning film with my mirrorless cameras now, and it's definitely a great decision I made. I'm really happy just because of how quick and easy it is, and I'm just gonna take you through kind of the whole process of how I, DSLR or mirrorlessly scan my film. Alright, so I just developed 4 rolls of film here in my bathroom, and it is now time to scan them. Alright, so this is the setup right here. As you can see, I've got my camera and the carrier, and then this whole kind of little cart system right here is just, all the stuff that I use for scanning film. So I kind of just, keep it all together. So kind of nice having that, all separate from, my main desk. So the camera that I use is the Nikon Z9, so 45 megapixels, so I am getting a lot of detail out of my images, which is nice. And then on it, I just have the 60, it's an old AFD lens, it's a 60 macro 2.8. So even though it is a really old lens, a lot of the Nikon lenses, their, AFD series, are still really good. So kind of a nice, inexpensive lens, but still really high quality. And then I just have the negative supply. This is the curated kit. So it comes with everything you kind of need to scan 35 millimeter and 120 films. So we got the 120 carriage back there, which you will, switch out when I do that roll of 120. So it's really simple. Literally all you do is feed your film into here and then turn the roller, and then that will make it possible to just scan your whole roll in a minute. So loading 120 is just a little bit different. This one you just load from the back. So first you want to lift up that little kind of cartridge right there, and then you just want to feed the film in from the back here. And then once you kind of have it in frame, you're going to set it down. But then you still can't advance it yet because it's not, fed into it. So after you do the first frame, you just feed it in a little bit more, and then you're able to use the sliders. But you will kind of need to put this up every time. That way your film is kind of loose, because if not, your film will start kind of scraping against the top here. So just, every time you do want to advance it, just, lift up the top and then, put it in position and then just put that down again. So some of the benefits that I found using the negative supply setup, one is definitely, the time. Now it takes me like 2 to 3 minutes to scan a whole roll of 35 millimeter, as it, compared to before just spending, that 2 to 3 minutes on just one image. So that, it's definitely been enjoyable, because I've been shooting a lot more film. I've been developing in bulk a lot more too, so just now being able to streamline that process a bit more has been really nice. And then probably the second benefit to it that I found is how adaptable these kits are. So the kit that I have, I can easily do 35 millimeter and 120 with full borders. So that's a really nice benefit to it, and it's really simple to set it up that way. It's easy to switch to. It takes like a couple minutes, so it's really nice. And then also in the kit that I came with, There's like adapters, so I can easily do 35mm pano scanning and also 35mm half frames. So just having all that, built into one kit is really nice as compared to, with scanners, they're really only meant to do, like 35mm and 120 without the borders and stuff like that. So they're really laid out to do that. But with these kits, they're a lot more flexible in kind of what you want to do and how you want your film to turn out. Another cool thing about these kits is they do have the option, to get large format as well. So when, hopefully later this year when I do make that switch into shooting large format 4x5, all I really will need for this setup that I have right now is a, bigger carrier to hold those 4x5 negatives. So that's really nice that I don't have to go out, and buy like a whole new scanner, because with the Epson that I was previously using, it only did 35 and 120. If I wanted to shoot large format, I'd have to go out and get a whole new scanner. And nowadays, with the way, scanners are, there's really just kind of like a short supply of them, and they're also the ones for large format are crazy expensive too, and like if it breaks, there's not really people who can really fix them nowadays anymore. So just having, a nice, more reasonable price solution to that is really cool. But then if I do, want to shoot 8x10, when I eventually, make that jump to that, I will need to get bigger carrier, to hold those, huge film negatives. So I'll need a new carrier, a bigger light source, to illuminate the bottom of it, and then I'll need another riser because this one does not, go high enough to do 8x10. But those three things is a really more simple solution than, again, like I mentioned, having to find a scanner that can even do, 8x10 kind of in this day and age now. So yeah, this, setup is just really simple. It's definitely, worth the investment. I am able to get, 45 megapixel images of my film in seconds. It's really just a huge plus and benefit, into my workflow. Because you just want, the highest quality out of my images all the time. And since, I do already have a 45 megapixel camera that I, use for all my professional digital stuff, it just really made a lot more sense to use that to scan than continuing with the scanner that I had, because that thing at this point is kind of just outdated with, the way these mirrorless cameras are evolving. Like, probably in the next couple of years, we could very well be scanning with like 100 megapixel cameras. So just like the detail we'll be able to get on our film is crazy. Because with the way film is built, you can get so much detail into those, like even just like a 6x7 negative, the amount of detail you can get into them is crazy. So it's like, why not take advantage of all that detail that film just naturally has and have that, when we share our film images, it's just, definitely a good investment choice. Definitely, if you're on the fence about it, I think you should switch over to it now, because there's really no reason not to at this point.